in sense of where we're at as the leading economy in the Western world with the lowest inflation rate of any Western economy. Obviously, we're going to hear about that tonight in the President's State of the Union, but it obviously has to be, there has to be more said by our president. I admit that when it comes to what the people are feeling, despite the economy being so well for them. And it's a question of whether people are going to be voting with their heads, or their wallets, or their guts, to be frank. And I think it's going to be up to this president to talk about everything that we've done, which has been a tremendous amount, and that is going to be the foundation upon which we're not going to be asking people to reward the president, but I think it's clear that you can trust the president to do the right thing going forward. And I think that's the message that we're going to hear, especially based on what this administration and last Congress have done. Now, also, Mr. Chairman, as I did in September, let me begin my remarks by commending you for offering a budget resolution and working to get us back on track. I'm particularly thankful that we're doing this early in the year and attempting to adhere to a more regular timeline. So thank you for your efforts to restore the norms of congressional budgeting, which will improve the budget process overall. We certainly don't want to repeat of fiscal year 24 spending, which we will pass nearly 6 months late. These types of delays, as you know well, create uncertainty, which leads to more inefficiency and spending waste. Now, I also want to again thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your work on the Bipartisan Fiscal Commission and for including this in the budget resolution. I do believe that a commission would be able to put out a bipartisan product that can both increase revenues and carefully control spending growth to improve our fiscal outlook. I'm still very hopeful that we can get this important legislation past this Congress. That being said, this budget resolution, though, is unfortunately not a bipartisan proposal. You know that, Mr. Chairman. And I have many of the same concerns with the details of this resolution that I expressed last year. While we made progress in ensuring that fiscal year 25 budget complies with the Fiscal Responsibility Act, the steep cuts down the line are very concerning. So, Mr. Chairman, realizing that I'm under a time constraint, please know that I'm hopeful that in the future we can put forth a budget resolution with a more bipartisan input that better realizes the need for revenues and less reliant on spending cuts alone. I yield back.
I thank the gentleman from California. I want to especially thank him for his leadership on the Bipartisan Fiscal Commission. Ultimately, that long-term unfunded liability is only going to be solved when both parties get together and find consensus solutions. Again, thanks for your leadership, Jimmy. I want to now yield 3 minutes to Mr. Ben Klein, who is also not just a Budget Committee member, but the chairman of the RSC Budget Task Force. Mr. Klein, 3 minutes.
Well, thank you, Mr.